Hello and welcome back, Central Oregon. You're listening to Talk Real Estate with Fred Johnson. Today in the chair here, we've got Dave Fagan with the Central Oregon Association of Realtors. And David, welcome back.
Thank you, Fred. Nice to be here.
You know, but before the break, we were talking about a number of different things, and I'd just like to go back for just a moment so that some of our listeners out there really understand, you know, the role and the purpose of the Central Oregon Association of Realtors. And you know, the advertisement line is, you know, the voice of the real estate industry in Crook, Deschutes, Jefferson, and Harney counties.
Right.
But we really not only want to be the voice, but really want to be the source. Is that correct, David?
That is correct. Well said, Fred.
And you know, and so in doing that, you know, it's really all things real estate related, and I would think that right at the top, obviously, you know, the ethics is a very key component, but the continuing education, maybe you could talk to the continuing education programs that we have here in Central Oregon.
Sure. Yeah, we offer many different courses now right here locally so that our brokers and agents can come right to our offices and study and learn and pass the credit hours needed to keep their education square. Mm-hmm. They don't have to travel across the state or to another state for that level of education now.
We also bring in national speakers too. Didn't you have a national speaker this last week?
We did. We had Adorna Carroll in town for our board, and we also had Terry. Name's escaping me.
Oh, he was the great one. He was really entertaining. A great
very
great
inspirational.
Presenter.
Yes, great
Nice.
presenter. Very nice. And so that's good education. It keeps people in our industry up to snuff. Mm-hmm. It helps do that.
Well, and I think that, you know, for the customer out there, both the buyer and the seller, I think that sometimes maybe they don't understand that there is, you know, levels of, you know, compliance, if you will, or membership, whatever you would like to call it, where after a real estate broker receives their license, there's a continuing education requirement that goes on, some mandated components, and then obviously some elective components.
Yes.
And that is all overseen by the Oregon Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors.
That's correct.
And you know, dispute compliance and ethical boundaries and all that sort of thing are there. So I just kind of wanted to get that out to let people know that the National, or that the Central Oregon Association of Realtors, as well as the Multiple Listing Service of Central Oregon, are really consumer oriented to provide the very best information and the best service that they can to buyers and sellers and owners. Because after all, another thing that we didn't even discuss was sort of the legal aspect of you know, maintaining property rights, you know, and helping protect property rights for owners so that they can buy and sell property and their ability.
That's correct. Every day of the year, both locally, statewide, and on the federal level, there's an attempt to get into the pockets of property owners. And that's for the reason of trying to increase tax bases and spend more money, right? But
there's some federal level talk right now of national transfer taxes, aren't there?
Yes, and our industry is fighting hard every day, and we win all the time to not allow those taxes to be imposed. A couple of years ago, we won a big battle right here in the state of Oregon.
For many of you that are listening today, there's a couple of real hot buttons in this topic, and one is the transfer tax, which we just mentioned, which I think that the proposal was for a 3.5% tax that would be levied on a property. And basically what that would mean is that if you had a $100,000 property, it'd be $3,500. If you had a $300,000 home, which is getting closer to an average price here in Bend, would mean that it'd be over $10,000 in just taxes in the sale, which would be an expense to the seller to sell that property.
That is correct.
It's a large number. It's a large number. And one of the other ones too is, you know, currently your gain on your primary residence when you sell it is tax free. And that is another thing that there's a considerable underswelling of people trying to eliminate that.
Correct.
And, you know, as that was formulated and came into being, you know, what the thought is that, you know, when mom and dad raise their kids and their kids go off and do something and it comes time to sell the larger home and move down into a smaller home, they've acquired value and equity that they're then going to be able to take into their retirement years. And basically what taxing that sale at that time does is basically compromises their well-being and their financial planning going into their retirement years.
Very much so. So we're passionate to keep those additional fees out of play.
Well, I think that sometimes the people in the community and people really throughout the country really don't understand what an advocate the Association of Realtors really are for them and their property rights and their ability to use their property, as it was zoned and regulated, and to stay within that and not be taxed out of their properties.
Well said. That's a very big part of what we do locally and nationally.
Let's talk about some of the fun stuff that you do. One of the things that the association does as well is gives back to the community.
We do.
There's a fair amount of giving back, and in doing that, there's some volunteer programs.
There are. Like Habitat for Humanity is one of those that agents each year go and help build a home, and a lot of industries or businesses in the community participate with Habitat, but realtors are always there. It's natural to do that.
We bring labor. We don't just bring signs. Is that correct?
That's correct. We bring labor. We're pounding nails. We're raising walls. We're painting. We're landscaping. We're not there just smiling and handing out business cards. That's not what we're doing there.
Perfect. And not to make light of the people that show up with the building supplies and all that, but the building supply guys, kind of get to drop it off and leave, and that's when the realtors are there actually assembling the home.
Right.
That's great. And then at the fair too, don't you with the you have a daycare.
Yeah, there's a kids zone, a kids fun zone, if you will.
What fun is that?
That's great. The parents can safely leave their kids and they'll be watched and cared for and made sure that they're having fun in a great environment, while the parents might go off and check out a few exhibits. And that's been something we've done for year after year after year.
That's great. And then there's the old adage about blood and sweat, and we do blood drives numerous times a year with
Great
the Red
segue,
Cross.
Fred. Yes, very well done, sir. Yes, the American Red Cross loves us. Each community in Central Oregon, from Madras, Redmond, Prineville, Bend, Sisters. I think this year was a record year for blood donated through our Realtor Association.
Oh, perfect.
We filled it. There was not a vacant bed or table to be given.
Well, that's great. I'm one of those that has an odd blood type, and that
doesn't surprise me, Fred.
My phone, I know. My phone rings pretty frequently. And not to keep things just exclusive to Bend. You get over to Prineville and do are you tough enough to wear pink?
Yes. Yep.
Tell me about that program a little bit.
Prineville, the Crook County Rodeo Association, and the fairgrounds out there each year have a big roundup or rodeo. And they've been very successful in their efforts to give to the cancer funds. The Tough Enough to Wear Pink program is one where...
Is that a breast cancer?
It is a breast cancer awareness drive, and they raise money each year out there. And that's one thing that our association as realtors helps with as well.
That's great, and I really appreciate you coming in today and shedding a little light on some of the many services and the many things that the Central Oregon Association for Realtors does. I think that all too often, and I think everybody understands and realizes that, but realtors sort of receive a rap that really may not be justified in a lot of ways. We seem to be accused for running the prices up and doing all that, when in fact, as you know and I know, it's what someone's willing to pay for a house. That's what drives the price up.
Correct.
And so I think it's really nice to that we get out and we actually do some things.
Yeah.
So maybe when we get back after the break here, we'll be able to talk about, we've got a little holiday lights program that
yes, we have
coming up as we're coming into the holidays.
Yes, we have.
That'll be interesting to talk about that just a little bit. And
recently we just had the Building a Better Central Oregon awards program that we did, and we can talk about that too.
Oh,
Fred.
good. Yeah. Let's bring that up. Those are a couple of great things. And once again, not only does the Central Oregon Association of Realtors provide services and give back to the community, but also acknowledges those other people that are trying to do things to make our city more livable and reuse and repurpose some of the different buildings and properties in town. So after the break, we'll get back. We'll have more with Dave Fagan, Central Oregon Association of Realtors. You can always call us here at the station at 541-388-1110, or you can email me direct at fred@dukewarner.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you after the break. That you would like to have, you can always email me at fred@dukewarner.com. After the break, we'll come back and we'll visit with Dave a little longer. Thank you so much for tuning in.